I will begin with the remote script. This is a Zoom meeting allowing the public to participate. The chair can request that members of the public provide their names for purposes of keeping accurate minutes. Attendees must register. The registration link can be found in the description of the Nantucket Government TV YouTube live feed for the meeting. Attendees will join in listening mode. Click the raise hand button if you wish to speak. The chair will call on those who have raised their hands in the order they were raised. All questions should be directed through the chair. I am the chairman, Andy Lowell. I will confirm that all members are here and present by roll call. Mr. Peter Brace.
Present.
Scott Anderson. Dave Bossy.
Present.
Scott, you're on mute.
Still muted, Scott. For staff, we have Tara Riley.
Present.
We'll get back to you, Scott. Just give us a shout when you're on. Good evening. This open meeting of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note this meeting is being recorded and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available at the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comments, questions, or motions. Hold until your name is called. Remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you. State your name. If members wish to engage in a conversation with other members, please do so through the chair. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public that have joined the meeting via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names and be acknowledged and speak through the chair. Each vote taken this evening will be conducted by a roll call vote. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board, October 3rd, 2023. Can we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda, please?
So moved, Dave Bossy.
Second.
Motion's made by Mr. Bossy, seconded by Mr. Brace to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, Mr. Brace?
Aye.
Mr. Bossy?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson, can you hear us yet? Still appears you're muted.
Hello?
Ginger?
Oh, that's somebody else. Yeah, that's Ginger. Sorry.
Hi, Ginger, that's fine. You approve tonight's agenda? Yes,
I do.
thank you. Chair votes aye as well. Approval of minutes, draft minutes for September 19th. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Are there any revisions requested? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of September 19th.
Dave Bossy, make that motion.
Second.
Motion's made by Mr. Bossy, seconded by Mr. Brace to approve the minutes of September 19th. All in favor, Mr. Brace?
Aye.
Mr. Bossy?
Aye.
Ms. Andrews?
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't there.
All right, chair votes aye as well. Mr. Anderson, are you on board yet?
I think you stepped off. Wait, here it comes again. I need to say that I couldn't find the minutes for September 5, and so I was in contact with Florencia, the person who posts them for the town, and she had no record of them, even though I saved them, or even though I hit record and all that. So they either got copied over or lost, or So I have no minutes for September 5.
Okay. Well, Peter, they'll possibly turn up. If they do, you can take care of it later. Don't
Yep.
get too worried about that.
Scott, if you just float your cursor on your frame, it should say unmute in blue, and you click on that. There you go. Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can't hear you, Scott. Sorry.
Keeps going off and on. Now it says you're unmuted.
But we're still not hearing your voice, Scott.
They could just dial in and use the dial in for voice.
Keep trying, Scott. We're gonna continue. Tara's time is limited here tonight. If you don't mind. Marine Department report, Sheila said she would join us next week. She's busy on the water, taking advantage of some calm weather. Natural Resources report, Tara Riley, please.
Thanks. I'm gonna report tonight on everything related to shellfish because there's been a lot going on. So I'll start with the stranding that we had and the rescue that took place. I'm not sure if anyone saw the report by the current, but when we figured out the numbers and the counts of everything that was rescued, it equated to around 6.6 million seed. And we're not really sure what's going to survive out of that, hopefully at least 50%. But if it were to all survive, it equates to about 20,000 bushels. So that's more than double what we harvested last year. And so it definitely was like a really great effort by the community and everyone else that was involved, the fishermen, all volunteers, to get that seed back in the water. And so we are monitoring it. Before the storm had come, we did 2 pre-surveys in Wawinnet and 1 in Quays in the areas where we expected things to strand. And then they stranded, and then we went back after the stranding and did another survey in both areas to see how the densities had changed. And in Quays, the densities had only changed by 7%, they decreased. And in Wawinnet, the densities increased by 8%. So it just kind of shows you how much seed is in the harbor pushing up towards shore. And the fact that, it's just like what stranded was just a very, very small amount compared to what we're seeing in the harbor. So the last 2 weeks, we've been underwater in the harbor. We did our benthic dive surveys, which include looking at the habitat, looking at scallop densities, and also looking at whelk densities. And so there are 40 sites. We knew that it was going to take a long time because of the densities in some of the sites, and it did. And plus the weather wasn't very great, but we finished in 10 days, which was pretty great. Also challenged our diving skills. But anyways, so what we found is pretty much everything that we suspected up in Wawinnet, all the way from almost Pocomo up to just beyond Toppers, is like really loaded with seed that's vulnerable for stranding. So we're looking at triaging that and moving it. It looks like it gets more dense as it gets past Toppers. So we've been taking a lot of underwater video, and it's really quite incredible what we found. One site that we weren't expecting, I mean, we have seen seed there before, but we weren't expecting the densities, was off of Bass Shoal. And those seed densities they exceed 500 per meter squared. So the scalps are just absolutely piled up in that area. And while we were doing the surveys, that site in particular took us 3 hours underwater to do with 2 people. So it was just insane. So the water was pretty rough during the course of the surveys, so we couldn't really see the bottom from the boat. So we're hoping to go out this week and get some more days like we had today where we can actually see the bottom and see how vast that site is and how far along the bar it goes. But I have a feeling that it extends from Bass Shoal along the bar up to Wawinnet. So that's a, you know, a candidate for thinning out and moving. The other sites that are high in density that we knew about are from Folgers Marsh and Quays all the way to the opening of Pulpus. Those are also fairly close to shore, also very dense. So that's another thing that we're hoping to be moving. So now that we have all of these surveys done, we know roughly where the adults are, where the seed are, where the seed is not. So we have good places to move seed to and kind of shift things around. And we can also take a look at Mattakit and move seed over to Mattakit. This is the first year that I think we've had everything done in the information so that we can really manage the seed populations that we have and put them in place for next season and kind of reduce the stress on them. So I think this is all good news. I'm also like relieved to see so much seed in other places of the harbor, so that if we do have some strandings, it's probably not going to be as critical knowing that there is so much still in the harbor. Other things that we noted with all the wind and everything that we had with the storm, there was a slime all over all of the eelgrass and coating everything. That seemed to have lifted. We didn't really see a lot of that slime anymore. So that could be good news for the scallopers that go out, and they probably won't hopefully get their dredges all gummed up. We have been lining our dredges with a smaller mesh, and we took out the town scallop boat and pulled some dredges along quays and just to make sure that they worked for moving seed, because the seed is smaller, and they did work. So we're excited for that. So we're in communication with the Nantucket Shellfish Association and the Fishermen's Council and trying to see who might have their boat ready and want to line some dredges to start moving seed before the season starts, or just get some things in place before the next significant wind events come and blow seed closer and closer to shore. So it looks like, you know, most of the seed that we found is from Second Bend all the way up to the head of the harbor. We did not find a lot of seed in there. I mean, there was some seed on Hussey Shoal and Monomoy. There wasn't a lot in the horse shed, and there wasn't a lot in the jetty. So in the lower harbor, there's space to move a lot of seed too. And keep in mind too, like these dive surveys that we do, like we have one in First Bend. So it's really just like a snapshot. You know, we could have been off by, you know, 100 feet and there could have been seed, but this is what the surveys say. So, so we'll probably be moving a lot of seed from up harbor down to the lower harbor, and then probably over to Mattakit. The eelgrass looked pretty good. We won't have that comparable data until later to compare it to the other years. It seemed like there was a lot of diversity in the surveys as far as fish go, a lot of blue crabs that I haven't seen before. I didn't see as many green crabs as I thought I would see. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I also saw pretty much non-existent anything hydrocoleum, which is what what the Lingbia is. That black macroalgae that kind of, you know, smothered everything the past few years. Really didn't see any of that at all. So I thought that was really pretty interesting too. Yeah, so I think the surveys went really well. I think we have a lot of information. We have a ton of seed to work with. And I think the good news about the seed is that, you know, it's going to set us up great for next year for spawning and for recruitment if they survive the winter and the summer. And then what else? A lot of people are concerned about the densities because the meats will be small because they're all competing for food and resources. So that's another reason why we want to thin stuff out. I don't really know, you know, what people are seeing in terms of weights for meat yet with the recreational scalloping. I know that we opened a few scallops off of Abrams and the meats were a little bit small. But yeah, I'm not really sure like how they are in Mattakit, but as far as like the recreational season opened on Sunday, I don't know how many people are in Mattakit because I didn't get in touch with JC about it. But we were in Nantucket Harbor and we saw probably about 5 boats in the lower harbor, like in Second Bend and along Foley Mill and Shimo. And probably a total of like 20 people out. But again, the weather was terrible. You know, there was high surf and winds. And so it just really wasn't pleasant. But I think starting tomorrow, it's going to be beautiful out and calm. I think we'll probably see some people definitely out this week and just kind of hopefully people are happy with how things are out in Mattakit and we'll get a chance to get out in Nantucket Harbor and take a peek around too. If you guys have any questions about anything, been underwater for 2 weeks, so I'm a little bit tired. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about a specific area. Our staff did all of the dives with one other person, so we're really familiar with everything going on in the harbor. And we're excited to, you know, spend the next couple months moving seed and seeing how we can make that work to our advantage and creating a, you know, more sustainable supply of shellfish.
Questions from the board, comments, statements?
Sarah, for you, Andy, what did you mean past toppers? Did you mean north of toppers or between toppers?
So yeah, almost like to the, like a little bit past the haulover. So it extends all the way along the spar and the shallow waters going up that way. And so the most dense area is Bass Shoal, on the Wawinut side. And then it gets really dense up here. So I think everything is kind of moving that way.
How far offshore here?
It's pretty close. You can be, I mean, we were probably from me to the road right there and we were.
If we get a
lots.
nor'easter, chances are, because this is all in the lee of the land, that stuff will just sit right there. So this stuff here is more likely to get blown here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think like, you know, triaging the stuff on the shoreline here and here first to move that out and away, and then we'll deal with this huge seed pocket a little bit later. Because it's not as vulnerable, but we did go underwater at Bass Shoal, Monday. Was that yesterday? Yeah. And we got some underwater video and there was some wave action and you could just see the seed bouncing along the bottom because there is not a lot of eelgrass there. And so it's, you know, feasible to think that it could definitely bounce its way to an area that maybe it would not do well in.
I'm just wondering. 6.6. I'm just wondering, like, how much of it perished while you're shoveling it and walking?
It's true. I mean, yeah, it's true. You know, I think if we can get 50%, you know, we're doing good. Because of the volume of that seed, I think it was a great effort. You know, there's a lot of stuff in the harbor though. So it made me feel better knowing that there's stuff up here and all over the place so that if we do get a stranding, like there was one at UMass on Monday and it was like 2 5-gallon buckets and people were out there scooping it up and stuff. And it was like really hard to like stop and scoop up 2 5-gallon buckets, but we did, and we took it out, you know, but there's just an obscene amount of seed in the harbor.
I know I asked you this outside of the meeting, but maybe for the benefit of everybody else in the public, are you concerned about, as the weather, you know, tomorrow and the next day and probably Friday will be nice days, that people will go out and will people just be crunch, 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 walking along in the shallows, walking all over seed that didn't get rescued or.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, I'm not really worried about the recreational people crunching on scallops because I think if they go out in any of these high seed areas, I mean, they're like a quarter size. So obviously they're not harvestable. It's obvious, but there's also no adults mixed in these seed populations. So it's something to consider for possible closures, you know, so they don't all get dredged up. if, you know, if it's not being moved or whatever. I know that we've done that in the past off of Pocomo. There was an area here that we closed because it was more than 75% seed. Just so that, you know, give the eelgrass a break or whatever. But I think people are not going to be fishing on the seed if it's straight seed, even the scallopers. Like, I just think they won't. But it's something to think about.
Well, that's kind of what I meant was, I know they're not adults. So there's gonna be people out there and waiters
Yeah.
walking on juvenile seed.
Yeah. I mean, the areas that I think people will be push raking, like off of Foley Miller, you have to go pretty far out to get to where the seed is. So I don't know. I'm not too worried about that. In Mattakit, there's not a lot of seed, you know, that we found yet anywhere. So we know that there's adults, you know, in the typical places that people like to go scalloping and that sort of thing, but we still need to get out there and do some more surveys, to find out where the seed is, because our spat bags in Mattakit were loaded this year too. So, you know, we just haven't been able to cover both harbors quite yet.
Peter, I'd like to think that the smaller $50 size are less apt to get crushed underneath your feet just because they're smaller. And harder to break than a larger shell. At least, you know, we can be hopeful of that at least.
But you know, I mean, when you wear waders, your limit is the height of your waders,
Yeah.
unless you're wearing the neoprene ones, but the limit is the limit of your height, how far you can get out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're wearing a wetsuit and diving, then you're not gonna crush them anyway, so.
From what I heard, Tara, somebody that opened a bushel from Mattakit reported 5 pounds from their bushel. Not sure, you know, if that was a heaping bushel or a leveled out bushel, not sure, but it seems like the turnout in Mattakit was much greater than in town. I know I happened to be at Grant Point Marine and Tidal Creeks just before the season opened. And they sold 170 bush rakes. So there's certainly a popularity gain. But as far as the turnout goes, it didn't seem like it was 180 more people than in previous years. So let's hope the impact isn't too great, and there's enough out there for everybody without any damage being done. Any other board members with comments? Scott, can we hear you yet? Oh, Scott, sorry, we can't read lips. So sorry. All right. Ginger. Dave,
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's great to hear about such a terrific effort on everybody's part. I mean, in the old days, no one would have dreamt of the kind of effort that everybody has put in, and I think we should be proud of ourselves.
Thank you for mentioning that, Ginger. I was just thinking that myself and failed to mention the communication, the planning, the turnout, all seem to work out very well, Tara.
Definitely,
And,
yeah.
you know, whatever you're doing in conjunction with the NSA and getting the word out is working. I think I heard a small amount of skepticism just the week before about this, and I was just really, really proud to hear that everything came together the way it did. We're so fortunate that the Natural Resources Department has the equipment available, the shovels, the totes, and so that people who do show up to volunteer can take action with the equipment that's supplied. I mean, there's been nothing but kudos out there from the public that I've spoken with about the reaction to the stranding, so very, very good, Tara. And, you know, if there was something you felt you needed to revise, you know, you can certainly move forward with that, but what you've already established and is in place is a working machine for sure. So thank you, Tara. Thanks to the NRD, thanks to the NSA and all the volunteers who stepped up and got involved. Tara, I'm really surprised to hear there's so much seed in the Upper Harbor, an area that you know, we've kind of considered to be almost void. So that's wonderful to hear. Last year, I actually started bush raking for the first time in my life. Had good luck in Second Bend, tried there on Sunday and found there to be actually a lot of slime. And turned up after checking one spot in Second Bend close to Third Point. And I went to Third Bend closer to Fourth Point. And then I went to Fourth Bend about right in the middle and came home with 8 scallops. So
I'm so sorry. You'll have to come out with us.
in Third and Fourth Bend areas, I encountered a lot of chaff. I did not find the slime in Third or Fourth Bend, but in that cove near the tidal inlet of Second Bend is where my push rake netting was getting quite a buildup of the gummies. So there was a boat a little further out with several divers on it, but no sooner did I get in the water did they pack up and relocate. So I'm not sure what the adult population is like in these bends. I only gave it about 15 or 20 minutes in each spot and became discouraged. And after seeing all the turnout in Mattocket and the good luck out there, just became a little more discouraged with my 8 scallops. But needless to say, I'm sure they're out there and hopefully in deeper water where the commercial guys can benefit from them.
Yeah, I can tell you that in Second and Third Bend, those are 2 bends that we've been doing releases and stocking in all of our from our spat bags. And there is a really great diversity in both of those bends, from seed to nubs to classic scallops, which I think is really awesome for kind of sustaining those bends and stuff. Yeah, Second and Third, I think in our surveys were like some of the highest mix, you know, perhaps we're in a different spot. Fourth Bend this year was one of the best for all adults. And we have 2 spots that we surveyed in there, but I know that people traditionally don't like the Fourth Bend scallops because they're supposed to be smaller beans or whatever, but we were surprised to see that there were, you know, a good amount of adults there as well.
Good. This all sounds positive. Anything else for natural resources from the board? From the public?
Mr. Chairman? This is Kona. Can you hear me?
Kona, yes.
Yes. Yeah. I just want to know how, like, were there dive sites today in Mattocket?
There are currently no dive sites in Mattocket except for what we do for our larval releases and kind of how we scout for seed following those. We do have a plan in place and funding to do a baseline survey similar to what we do in Nantucket Harbor starting next fall. That will be repeated each season, similar to what we do in Nantucket Harbor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Connor. Anybody else? One last round, questions, comments?
Question for Tara.
Mr. Logan?
John Logan here. What size mesh are you using for, and is it easily adaptable to, say, my current dredge system? So if I were to, so that's one question. Second question is, if you're seeing a lot of the seed and if you have an ability to retrofit standard scallop dredge rather quickly,
Mhm.
do you think there might be an opportunity for people that might be willing to do like a Saturday or a Sunday, a couple hours seed move? I mean, what's the program with the?
So right now, the Shellfish Association is probably gonna coordinate any commercial scalpers that wanna move seed. I know last year when they moved seed, I mean, it was fine to go on the weekends and stuff, as long as we let the warden know, who was out there and how long you're out there or whatever, but. As far as retrofitting the dredges, we only ran 4 dredges on our boat. 2 normal ones, in the front, and then we lined, I think it was like, I'll have to look at the millimeter, but the mesh opening was like that big, and we just used oyster bags. We cut them up.
Okay.
And we zip tied them in. So it wasn't anything like super high tech, and it worked really, really well. It's a stiff mesh. But it did well. And so the front dredges caught all the crap, and then the seed was clean and quays when we towed it. So, we have bags right next door, that I'm happy to give anyone that wants to cut them up and zip tie them in. Or we can talk to some of the oyster farmers and get some too. I'm sure there's like some old ones kicking around that we can use for this. Yeah.
For somebody like me, I've got a couple of extra dredges that I can have specifically for that purpose.
Yeah,
Just, and like you said, 4 dredges is
Yeah.
plenty,
yeah,
because you don't go far before they fill up.
Right,
But if
right.
There's something that we could do on weekends.
yeah.
For those that are willing and able, I think that.
Yeah, I know that Samantha Danette sent out an email through NSA asking who is interested in. So if you want to reach out to her maybe and just see, what she's planning. She'll be working with us for moving seed. So,
Awesome.
okay. Mhm.
Was that a selected email or was it?
I think it went out to the Fisherman's Council.
Okay.
So,
Anything else? On natural resources report. Thank you, Sarah. Very much.
welcome.
You're dismissed.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry
Yeah.
for the
Not at all,
abrupt departure.
not at all,
All right,
it's fine.
Good luck.
thank you.
Into old business. Harbor watershed, public information, outreach and ideas. This is a revised topic. Following up from our forum we held on, is it September 9th?
Nice, yep.
Mr. Brace. So, we discussed at our last meeting, a few ideas, especially with, the high school teacher reaching out. So it's a matter of us, creating a presentation that can work, for, school students. And looking in my notes for what else we might have spoken about in the last meeting on this. Does anybody have any comments on this topic, ideas? I mean, we have some one-liners. I think we could, incorporate in a presentation or in written form if we happen to create any more flyers. For example, if your lawn is exceedingly green, then chances are you're part of the problem. Your actions have an impact. What's your fertilizer footprint? I love that one. And, of course, some comments from David Gray at that meeting. Pushing for mandating stormwater control on construction sites is a great idea. Listing alternatives to green lawns. I think we need to come up with more alternatives to the typical fertilizers that are being used. Rain gardens created versus dry wells. for roof water runoff and yard runoff. All great ideas, needing to be formed into some public information, educational and outreach programs that we can either inspire, continue to put on ourselves. The NSA, the Nantucket Shellfish Association, has expressed interest in being involved in this as well. So I think we have outlets. It's a matter of sitting down and creating a presentation that possibly can be used in several outlets. So that we're not overthinking and overdoing our part, burning ourselves out on it. Would be nice to have something printed that we can pick up and take and be prepared for a presentation.
Well, I would suggest maybe that we do a workshop style meeting.
A workshop.
Yeah, we have a workshop,
What, I didn't hear the rest of the workshop, what meeting?
a workshop style meeting, where we make this the one focus and we get it all done in one meeting.
Okay.
And give assignments to each member to get it all done.
We can do that, that's a good idea.
Something like that.
All right.
If we're serious about it.
Maybe at our next meeting, we'll look at the calendar and pick a date for that. We'll have Sheila at our next meeting, so I wouldn't want it to be a workshop meeting, and then first meeting in November, we're gonna be wanting to hear about what the opening of commercial season is like. I'm not sure when that lands in November. It may actually be the second meeting of November that we get more information from how the commercial season takes shape.
Opening day will be a Wednesday. And our next meeting after that will be the 7th. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Which would be more than enough for Tara to give us a report on how it went. So
I think historically, she's had a hard time actually gaining that enough information for that first November meeting to share, if I recall correctly.
So then it'll be the 21st then. And November was when we were going to.
Thank you.
November was when we were gonna, or when Tara said he wanted us to work with her, starting the review of the aquaculture program for revisions. So just to keep that in mind.
All right. Well, I mean, kind of like our recommendations go, we need to put together recommendations for the Harbor Action Plan Committee. I worked on some of that this afternoon. And we're gonna have to try to come up with penciling up some drafts at home. I hate to put off creating, I mean, some of this is still fresh in our minds from our forum. So myself included, maybe over the next couple of weeks, can just sit down and draft up a portion of a presentation, and maybe Mr. Anderson and Mr. Bossy can do the same at home. Because I'm not at this point looking at it quickly, not sure when we'll be able to create a specific workshop meeting. It looks like we're into December if we
Well, we've got the whole
which is fine, but I'm kind of excited about it to be able to get, this information out there sooner than later. Since it's been, stormwater runoff, like we said at the forum, it's really like the elephant in the room. We always hear about fertilizer and septic and sewerage, but stormwater runoff is, should be considered up there as a top three with the other two, and hasn't been addressed all that much, but it seems it's going to be addressed with the sewer department taking over, with stormwater and storm drain maintenance, repairs and upgrades. So we're certainly on the right path, but I personally feel like we've been behind the 8 ball for years and on stormwater runoff and need to really get the information out there and get the awareness out there to the general public. And maybe that's simply my anxiety. I know over the years, some things have been done. There's the rain gardens on Washington Street near the town offices there, and the created wetland out in front of Sales Seafood, which really has not been maintained as it should be. So is it really even doing the job it's supposed to be, or is it clogged up with nip bottles and other debris? But which it appears to be when you walk into that little path that's there across from Sales. But anyhow, is there any discussion from the board? Harbor watershed, public information and outreach ideas?
Yes, Dave Bossy. Yeah, I jotted down a few of my ideas that we discussed before, so I'm kind of in favor of a workshop. I think we've got the winter to do it. I don't think it's a big crush to get it done until spring, but I think December, I have no problem waiting and doing something in December or January to get together and get these ideas on a single piece of paper, and then we can decide what to do with them.
Thanks, Dave. Anybody else? Green crabs. Probably should have asked Tara if she knew anything about the trapping, but we can find out in the near future. Mr. Anderson still not able to
Sure.
get his microphone working.
May have stepped off. I think he may have stepped off.
All right.
Let's see.
Mr. Chairman?
Ginger, please.
Oh, yeah, Tara did say that she didn't see as many green crabs and she'd seen a lot of blue claws, which I thought was
That's right.
interesting.
Yeah, she did say that, yes. Thank you, Ginger, for that reminder. In particular, I'm wondering how the trapping went for the summer that the NSA funded, and had several fishermen checking the traps over the summer. I think Dylan Wallace was one of them. Slipping my mind, who else was Bruce Beebe involved? I'm not sure. John, no. Yeah.
Jonathan Holgate was maybe part of that. But if I may,
Please do.
on the green crab topic, I know one of the earlier meetings we had, not here, but with the public, there was talk about a pilot program trying to turn these into fertilizer with Toscana.
That's what's going on with the trapping right now. That's why they're trapping them. And then the crabs are being given to Toscana to do that.
Is there any update on the success of that or the viability of it, or is Toscana, what's happening with that? And again, like I remember Tara saying that she didn't see a lot of them, but there's also, from my experience of dredging, there are certain areas where there's not a lot. And there's certain areas where there are tremendous amounts. Again, that might be a question for Sam at the NSA, but I'd like to know if there's a way for the commercial guys, not that we want to hold anything more on the boat, but if there is a program that's working with Toscana, can we keep these and then somehow get a transfer from our commercial landing area to Toscana instead of me just smashing them, throwing them back in the water? Because I try not to let anyone live. And I think that's the general consensus. But if there's a way to, collect them and then have at our commercial drop off or check-in station, have them get picked up or somehow get delivered to Toscana to continue this program if it's existing and if it's working.
That's a great idea, John. To have a drop-off location for the commercial fishermen. I can remember back in the 70s where there were barrels placed at Children's Beach for starfish. And most of the fishermen brought in their starfish in extra half-bushel baskets. And as far as the information goes, we don't have current information. That's why I'm kind of reaching out to see if somebody else does, as far as how the summer trapping went. It was interesting to hear you say that some areas are rather void of them and other areas seem overpopulated of them, and it immediately made me think, wouldn't it be nice if when the commercial fishermen experience that, to possibly log, take note of the area where you did find a high population of them and report it to NSA or NRD so that those areas can possibly have traps set in a more aggressive manner. So as far as the composting of them goes, it sounds like it is worked out just fine for Toscana to mix them in with their leaf and grass compost and whatever else they're composting there, wood chips. It's a great addition and a wonderful outlet to have to get rid of them. So drop-off points for commercial fishermen. We'll look into that. Anybody else on green crabs? Harbor Action Plan Committee, SHAB recommendations. I didn't type it out. This is simply a draft I came up with earlier today. If y'all don't mind, I'll take 2 minutes and read it. The Harbor Shellfish Advisory Board believes a comprehensive dredging plan of all harbors should be considered for positive results in navigation, eelgrass propagation, shellfish habitat, and coastal resilience. Harbor coastlines have been eroding for decades, resulting in eelgrass and shellfish beds smothered with sand, and many areas have become so shallow that navigation has become difficult as well. This board is hopeful for an action-based collaboration of the Marine Department, the Natural Resources Department, mooring handlers, fishermen, the Harbor Action Plan Committee, the Sediment Transport Study and Dredge Plan engineers, Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee, any stakeholders involved in harbor aquaculture or harbor activities, the Nantucket Land Council, and the Nantucket Conservation Foundation. SHAB has discussed this topic for several years and believes with the proper planning that a low impact yet aggressive approach can be achieved and result in benefiting the health of the harbor. It is our hope that through communication, coordination, and comparisons of today's mapping and prior years' mapping, that areas in need of dredging can be identified and a plan be created to take place over future years to ensure recovery and growth of a healthy habitat and navigable waters for safer boating. I can certainly add more to that, but this is the type of recommendation that's been on my mind. As you all know, dredging has been, the top of my list as a necessary action needed for our harbors, and as we know, the plan is in the works now. Hopefully we can hear from Mr. Carlson, and I'll reach out to him over the next 2 weeks to find out where that plan is in its progression.
So, Vincent Murphy said he would come and talk to us about it
Yes,
when he had concrete data to talk about it.
okay,
So maybe we reach out to him and he says Jeff has to come, or maybe Jeff says that Vincent has to come, but Vince said he would come and talk to us
okay,
if he knew of concrete data. And the next time I see him, I'll ask him if now is the time, or do we need to wait? Or you can email.
well, this is actually, I'd like this recommendation to go to both the Harbor Action Plan Committee, and, get in the hands of the sediment transport study and dredge plan engineers, and hopefully somewhere in there, the coordination of all the people that really matter in this, can come together in some way. Certainly want to hear from Vince, and or Jeff, on the dredging in particular. And hopefully, we can have, some influence in this plan. If the board agrees, of course.
You should type it up and then send it to everybody.
Yeah, I will. Board members on recommendations for the Harbor Action Plan Committee. Is everybody muted?
No, I don't think anyone's had anything to say yet.
All right. Sediment transport study and dredge plan. Any comments, questions, discussion?
My comment about Vincent, that was my comment.
And that's fine. Thank you, Peter. Dumpster sticker distribution. Still need to organize, some volunteers. I know Mr. Bossy, Mr. Franzuto, willing to help. It's just a matter of, us, organizing a time we can all get together, and I will reach out this week, to board members, and, also, see if we can, employ some high school kids that need to, put in their time to be able to graduate. Any discussion on anything else in old business? Health of the harbors, we have no topics under that, even though most everything we talk about is about health of the harbors. New business, Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee, do we have an update, Mr. Brace?
Yeah, so in reference to our discussion at the last meeting, where there seemed to be some confusion about the coastal resilience plan, and the land banks, coastal resilience plan. I've called up, well, first of all, just so that everyone knows, the select board adopted the coastal resilience plan in January of 2022. So it does exist. It can be found on the town's website. I've got here on I've got here, I'm gonna share, well, let's see. I'm going to, let's see. I'm gonna share my screen, right? Back to Zoom. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. And hope everyone can see this. So we got, at that meeting, we get to talking about a barrier, a storm barrier that ran along the waterfront. And I'm just doing this to clear up any confusion. I know there was talk of moving the Salt Marsh Center, you know, a living shoreline. All those things are concepts. This is an idea. This is one of the recommendations. But the black line that you see running along that sort of jogs around and goes over to goes over the Straight Wharf and then Steamboat Wharf and all the way up to Easton Street and down. This is an actual recommendation that is in the coastal resilience plan. It's on page 147. You can read about it. It's essentially building a barrier, and you can also, if you scroll down a little bit, you can see, you know, how that might work. And then there's a project summary, so it's all in there. What the land bank is doing hasn't been approved. It isn't happening yet. It's a lot to take in, I know. The plan is, 157 pages long or whatever it is, or it's longer than that, but I encourage everybody to read it, to read the executive summary. And then attend our meetings if you're interested. But this right here is something that's recommended within the plan to act as the water comes up, type of situation to protect the downtown.
What's the dotted line representing?
Possible movement of the, changing, if it doesn't work out, then we'll do that. But I would, I know we're all insanely busy. But it's worth reading and checking out the plan and seeing what's going on.
Becoming more familiar with the plan only makes sense for all of us, Peter, so
Yeah,
we'll do our best to do that.
I mean, this map right here it shows basically the real danger zone for the downtown waterfront. Everything from the cliff east, northeast, out to Brant Point, all that's filled tidelands. And then running along, the bank that Orange Street sits on, that Union Street goes below, and then going east to the water, that's all filled tidelands, and then down here into the creeks. So this is all critical area that we're trying to protect. But it spells it out, lays it out all very, very well, I think. Yeah, that's another good way. Good way to show it. Everything in blue and light blue. But anyway, that was just for me to make sure that our board understands that we're working on this. We meet twice a month. Please attend the meetings. Please read the plan. And if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Peter. Board members, any discussion on Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee update? Not seeing or hearing any.
I also wanted to say that, it's worth going to the Land Bank's website and looking at what they have for their ideas for their plan. If nothing is, is committed and written in stone, but they're going to work with us. We're going to work with them. They're not operating independent of us, you know, that we'll work with them, so.
That would have been my only question about the collaboration between the two and that it's there and solid and
Yeah,
transparent.
and they're a quasi-governmental organization, we elect their commissioners, they're not gonna go off and do something that doesn't work with the larger plan for the island. So, right now, in general, the Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee, our main mission since we've created a plan is public outreach. And so working with our new coastal coordinator, Leah Hill, and the committee is working on ways to reach the public and engage their understanding of the plan and see what their issues are. So I'm working on all kinds of stuff like that. Maybe.
Mr. Logan?
Peter, is there any of what influence Acclimate has or input with you guys? Are they collaborating with you at all, or is that
Yeah,
just
they're sort of advising us. I mean, there are several groups that come out and say, we, you know, the area associations, the 25 area associations, which we're trying to reach out to now, they'll be advising us, and we advise the select board. The most recent thing we did with Acclimate was have September declared as Climate Awareness Month. But, you know, we're basically just proceeding along with the plan and working on public outreach, and then outside groups come to us and say, we think you should do this, or here's a plan for that. So we don't turn anybody away, but we don't have any big plans with them right now. They're just there and advising us.
so you and the land bank council, or is the land bank or land council?
Land bank.
So you and the land bank are the ones that actually are developing this plan to put forth to the town, and some other entities might be coming up with their own ideas to.
Well, the land bank has its own plan. Like I said, they have their own coastal resilience sea level rise plan. Nantucket has its coastal resilience plan. And to the extent that the two plans work together, everybody tries to make it work. But nothing is proposed to happen yet. There are 40 recommendations in the plan. And not all of them are things that we'll do now. Some of them are decades out. Some of the things that are being worked on near term, raising of Pulpus Road as it passes between Folgers Marsh, the freshwater side and the saltwater side. Building a living shoreline on Pulpus Road, and that part that got washed out in 2018. Reestablishing tidal flow into the marsh on the other side, building up the road, I believe building up and raising the road as it enters, as it starts to go between north head of north head of Long and Long Pond. And then the same thing at Second Bridge. And I believe actually making bridges out of those back to what they were before, but certainly not made out of wood. And then shoring up Millie's Bridge, stuff that needs to be done right away. So
The second location you mentioned with the living shoreline is at Sackatchew.
right,
Okay.
you know. So you read the plan, you'll understand it better. And I'll do my best at our meetings, at the Harvard Shellfish Advisory Board meetings, to report on what we're doing. I'm now chairman, so I'm gonna be well informed when I come back to our meetings to report. So anyway,
Okay.
I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay.
Anything else from the board or the public Coastal Resilience Advisory Committee? Public questions or comment on anything in tonight's meeting? For next meeting, anticipating Sheila being present, I'd like any board members, if there's any particular questions you have for Sheila, please text or email them to me ahead of time if you can think of it, so that I can let her know so that she's prepared with information or an answer. Our next meeting is October 17th. Meeting after that is November 7th, which there's a 3-week period between October 17th and November 7th. Just as a reminder, I will remind that again at our next meeting. Anybody has any thoughts for recommendations for the Harbor Action Plan Committee? Please work on them and get them in writing, so that we can work on it together here, revise them and get them submitted. If there's nothing else to discuss tonight, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ginger, you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here. Can you
All
hear me?
right. Yes, can you
I'll
second
second it.
the adjourn? Thank you.
Yes, I second it.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn tonight's meeting. Made by Mr. Brace, seconded by Ms. Andrews. All in favor, Mr. Brace,
Aye.
Ms. Andrews,
Aye.
chair votes aye as well. Is Mr. Bossy still with us?
No, we lost our quorum,
Okay,
so
this meeting is adjourned.